Oh, I got the orientation wrong. You're gonna have to watch me this way up. Today's 9/11, 2018, 17 years since the Twin Tower attacks. I happened to be at home that day and I did watch some of the stuff go, like in real time. I think the second plane. I was in front of the TV when that happened, fully ready to receive my programming, and I totally took that on board. It's 5 in the morning now. I just noticed my hair looks like I just woke up. I said to my wife at the time, I said to Andrea that this was going to change the world. I'd been at war myself, and I just was dumbfounded and totally shocked. But I knew that it was going to have dire repercussions. And really quickly things were brought about that started to change things. Oh well, someone. Hi, Tommy. Hey, Tommy, how you going? Yeah, very quickly things changed. In something that people won't know is that, like, my dad was in the shipping business. He was a pilot down in Durban Harbour and in South Africa. And they brought in a whole slew of new regulations and new controls on the movement of freight in and out of the harbour, all on the back of the potentiality of the risk to the great America. And countries like South Africa are very keen to keep in good favour with big business partners like America, so they all bring about the changes quite quickly. I totally accepted the story as it was fed to me by the media, and about 6 months later, I was in an area called the Transkei in South Africa, which is formerly known as a Bantu or African homeland in the apartheid days, and so it was an area of the country that was sort of segmented for one of the African tribes or kings, and those places weren't as well developed, and it's beautiful for that reason. A place called Coffee Bay. I was visiting a place called Coffee Bay, and I happened to get talking to the local people, got invited to lunch with this guy who was a gold miner. He spent 11 months of the year in Johannesburg digging to make some people rich. And then a month of the year he would come back home, about 800 miles, 1,200 kilometers, something like that. Come back home to the Coffee Bay and spend time with his family and so on. And he was living up on the top of the hill and invited me to have corn with him and his family for lunch. And we're sitting there on this hill overlooking the most beautiful scenery. And he looks over at me and says, "Dave, where is Osama bin Laden?" I was absolutely blown away. Here I am in the middle of like absolute beautiful nature, almost nothing man-made around us. And this guy's asking me about Osama bin Laden. And he's a simple gold miner, like a mole digger, with a very simple life and basic education and so on. But he was totally caught up in the worldwide hunt for Osama bin Laden. And so was I. I mean, I wasn't looking for him out there in the Transkei. That's another story. And I was obviously moved for all the loss of life and so on and so forth, and the firefighters and so on. Um, it was only in 2015, at the beginning of 2015, when I'd heard someone say something about this before, but at the beginning of 2015, a friend who whose you know viewpoint I admired, I was having lunch with him, and he said, 9/11 was. Some people say that 9/11 was an inside job, but that's nonsense. And I'm like, yeah, what? That's kind of crazy. But I'd been doing some research for the previous few months on religion, so I was pretty handy with the old YouTube and pretty comfortable. I hadn't been watching telly for some time, so the TV, so I had time on my hands to do research. And I'd realized with the previous research into religion that I didn't know an awful lot. I mean, I didn't even know who Christopher Hitchens was. Um, you know, but 6 months before, uh, I think he died like 4 years before I discovered who he was. And then I went through like 50 or 80 hours of his lectures, maybe more, before I came across the information that he was dead. And I was emotionally moved by that. Anyway, so I didn't know much. So this guy says to me, some people say that 9/11 was an inside job. That's nonsense. And I go and look for myself, and I'm like, within the first few hours, I'm like, this is all information that they never told me on the National Geographic Channel. This is information that the BBC has never shared with me. Why the BBC wouldn't want people knowing that they knew Building 7 was going to fall before Building 7 fell. It's a little embarrassing, a little hard to explain. What's her name? Jane Stanley, the BBC reporter who comes up and says, oh, Building 7 has collapsed due to fires, apparently. Due to a few fires in the offices. 7 seconds and the building's gone away into its own footprint. Blame that on Osama bin Laden as well, if you don't mind. None of his planes hit the building, but, So it didn't take me long to realize I'd been grossly lied to. And from then spun off a whole lot of research into a whole bunch of other topics. But here, I just want to quickly say that, people more than likely died on 9/11. I don't think I'm not going to try and suggest that that didn't happen, that people didn't die. That would be impossible for me to know and would come across as deeply insensitive because, nothing works better than a bit of, emotional blackmail and this kind of, real death. Death really works, I mean, I was in a war and people did definitely die around me. I mean, I fucking saw people die and I was involved in some of that kind of stuff. So I've been bombed by Russian planes. I've been fired on by Russian tanks and RPGs and you name it. I've had bombs landing around me for hours and hours and hours in constant combat. So I know some of this stuff is real, don't get me wrong. And I'm not certainly not going to try and undermine the lives lost, but I think this Graham has taken hundreds of millions of lives, actually, and has therefore prevented the birth of maybe billions of new lives in the wars, in the times of all the wars and so on. Just look at the European wars, let alone other wars that have been conducted elsewhere, as we don't even get told about in our history. So let's look at the loss of life in the context of this great game that's been wrought upon us. Game or test. I prefer to see it like that than it's just a horror show and it's some nasty, evil, archonic bloodline, families, corporations, despotic few who are, whatever, off planet, not off planet, off plane or beyond the plane that we know. I don't want to get into too much of that kind of speculation at this point. I guess I need to wrap this up. I don't like to talk for too long. Your time is super precious, and I've got a few things I need to do this morning before baby wakes up. Is 9/11. That event did change the world. It didn't happen like they tell us it happened. All of the governments of the world are complicit. All of the governments of the world. I don't think that there's a single government that is outside of the aegis of whatever is able to pull such an event off and get no country going. There's no Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi or African nutcase or even that fool they've got in that puppet, the fat one in North Korea. What's his name? Dum Sum Young Cum something. That CIA puppet, right? Why isn't he putting out, why doesn't he, if he's so powerful and what have you, that he can buy all these nukes and stuff, why doesn't he, the biggest nuke he could drop would be to tell the world that 9/11 was done by the secret services and the governments and so on. He could buy himself a newspaper, an online, a digital newspaper. It doesn't even have to be a physical newspaper. He could buy anything as a means of communicating with the world some of the real truths, because, when you're in that position of knowing, you must have a lot more information to share. But they never do. No one ever does. And the Saudis go along with, there's a few pages missing, and it might implicate the Saudis and so on and so forth. But the Saudis, whatever their role was, and I'm sure their secret services played a part, they're not going, well, no, it's not us. It's, look at the Bush family and look at the cretins that were doing what they were doing. And yes, how does the BBC get to call it before it happens? So I don't know that they're going to do anything as obvious as 9/11. Maybe 9/11 was the Lusitania for World War One. Maybe 9/11 was Pearl Harbor for World War Two. Maybe we were in that. Maybe we were in that third conflagration already, and they don't want to call it that. I'm sure in the World War One, actually, I don't know when they started calling it the Great War, but it was probably only after the fact. They like to, when the historians love to aggrandize their victories and their conflicts and so on. But some of the battles that have been fought by British, American, and other European soldiers in Afghanistan and Syria, perhaps now even, these will perhaps be written about in history as big battles and big events and so on, as part of this war to kind of beat back these Muslim fundamentalists or whatever. If there's Muslim fundamentalists, I know that there are, because there are Christian fundamentalists and there are atheist fundamentalists, Darwin lovers who, then, these people are in this game by design. And 9/11 happened by design for this game. And I think that, yes, I went along with, the mainstream version of events for a very long time. Then in 2015, I realized I'd been lied to, and I was angry. Not so angry that I'd been duped, so angry that humanity has been traduced in the way that it has. That's fucking hard to come to terms with. It really is. And if you are like me and you care about your brothers and sisters, you care about life, you care about, being honorable and then this should make you angry, and it should upset you, and it should piss you off. And you should allow yourself that. But I don't encourage you to act on it. Because what they want is they want you to act on it. Every time a guy drives his car into a wall or into a group of people, it gives them more excuses to ramp up the screws of control, tighten the screws of control. Now these cars riding onto bridges and so on, as they've done here in Westminster a few times, these might be false flags, these might be training drills dressed up as real. Again, I don't want to get too specific on these because, people tend to get very emotional. Sandy Hook people, there's children that died, you know what I mean? I sent the Sandy Hook victims a little love note. The Facebook page that was set up in the wake of that. I sent them a little, very sorry, because I was deeply moved by that. And there's people out there who, they felt the same way, and that they've never had reason to recast the way that they saw the whole thing go down, and whether or not, this and like Dunblane, these are real big question mark. The point is, when these things go down, if you get angry and you get shirty with the system, they got all the shit ready to go. I told some police, some lovely officers, officials of the system, I told them the other day I was in Greenwich Park. I think it was them. I told them that I lost my thread on that. I think that I said to them, look, I will comply with what you're saying now about me having banners. And I was with Harry of John Smith, Globelier. Don't forget he's on tour this month around the UK. But I was saying to these police that, I will comply. Why? Because they've got all the tools. They've got all the bullies. They got the gang. They didn't like me saying this, but they got the gang waiting to go, all tooled up. And you see it now with the young policemen coming in. They're like fucking RoboCop. They love it with their little taser guns and whatnot. It's getting a little bit kind of RoboCop. So they're ready to go, man. And they're kind of goading us, I think. Being goaded. Come and make a scene. We only need 3 or 4 of you to turn up, make a scene, and we'll film it and make a big splash about it, and the entire of your community will be tarred by that brush. Did I lose my feed? And if I lost my feed? This has gone on for 19 minutes, that's long. But I might have lost my feed. That's a shame. Damn. There's a chat going on and I can't even. Hey. Oh, I'm back. When I was away, I noticed that there was a few people watching. Thank you for that. And see, Rambo Jambo and Amanda were saying hi. So sorry for being so slack on that. And Tommy Rogers, of course, hello, mate. Thank you. And yeah, Jew is for real. Directed energy weapons. I'm, you know, that you say that makes me think of this. Is that when you suggest to people that they could have layered in the planes flying into the buildings and so on, what they couldn't do that, or that they could have faked the moon missions using some kind of early form of software like Photoshop or whatever. And people, the technology wasn't available. But in another conversation, you'll have them going, the military, they're 20, 30 years ahead, in terms of their technology. Well, where did all the technology come from? Isn't the internet originally called DARPANET? DARPA, the same defense, what are they called? Defense and something and something. They've seed funded Google, and probably, they're right in at Facebook, and if not at its inception, then certainly they were looking out for the appropriate replacement, because they were always in the business of data gathering and using social media as means of population ideation or mind management or mood measurement. But 9/11 was certainly a psychological operation of a yeah. Thanks, brother. Much love back to you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Defense and what? Yeah, defense and research projects agency. I heard someone say in a chat room earlier about Kennedy. When Kennedy said we'll go to the moon and do the other things. I'm not sure what the other things are, but I suspect they have something to do with what they're using some of the money that NASA, robs from the American taxpayer. Because some of it's about making fake satellites and so on, or satellites or fake rockets and fake ISS. Some of it's about that and the investment in all the swimming pools and all of that stuff. But some of it's probably about other things that they're doing. That's to do with going beyond certain regions or whatever, beyond the electronic 3D paradigm. I don't know, but no doubt they're doing something. No, I think that 9/11 was an intended psychological operation. Of course it was, and I guess what I want to say to kind of summarize this, because I don't want to hog your time, is that once you get through the kind of pissed off phase of I've been lied to and I can't trust the people that I thought I could trust in the government in control, then you got to get past the angry. You've got to get past that. I think that's what they want. They want you to be angry. In fact, I think sometimes they like to see the shit out. They want to have people out there going, yeah, fuck the government, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't a cataclysm in the wings waiting. There isn't some event that's either been built in to happen. Like the kind of the directed energy weapons that cause some more major mayhem in wider areas and what have you, or a tsunamis event, or some other weather, or some other kind of event, or some other whatever. Maybe the system itself has its own sort of self-cleaning thing that it does every X period of time. I don't know. If those things are going to happen, they're going to happen. But it's not going to make any odds whether or not I'm angry or happy. Some might say if I'm happy, then I might be able to bring about happiness that prevents that kind of negativity from going down. But whatever, I don't need to get into that right now. I can say that I'm just suggesting that if you found out that 9/11 was a was a false flag event organized by the control system that we call government, then you are, in my opinion, well advised to come to terms with that and then look into the other things that seem to have been even grander lies, this business about how does the ball earth spin? How does water really cling to a ball if gravity is just a theory and we have to trust NASA to believe in the science, in the heliocentric science that we're given? We have to trust NASA, which sounds like, one of those other control systems that have been brought over us. So there's something more. It's about you. It's about this divine journey that you're on. It's about this connection to some higher purpose, some higher, greater thing. That's what I think. So I guess I'm asking you to consider that 9/11 should not be a moment of hating your brother, whether Muslim or Christian or any other Jew or whatever. It should not be about division, and it should not be about, the greed paradigm that we're meant to be trapped in, because that's exactly what we're meant to be trapped in. Think about it. You're meant to be caught up in the greed paradigm and the I'm too busy to kind of care paradigm. When you realize how important you are, perhaps you'll stop and take the time. But take the time to find the love for your brother and sister. Move on from the us and them, because surely, this is like that, the kind of white dudes who love only white dudes. I don't know what they call themselves, like right-wing kind of dudes. I suppose they would consider themselves right-wing, I don't know. But white dudes who only love white dudes, or think that white dudes are smarter than other dudes, or better or something. And particularly nowadays, it's like the white dudes and the black dudes are going, we're okay, but it's these Muslim dudes, perhaps, Or there's black dudes who go, it's all them white dudes, It's only the white dudes because they know about 9/11, say, and they go, it's the white dudes who are doing this to us, as though me as a white dude somehow responsible for what lies are being told and what is being done. I would say to an black Angolan brother who was on the other side of the battlefield from me, I'd say, this wasn't about black and white. We were kind of brought into the black and white paradigm, but we had black soldiers on our side, and we were supporting Jonas Savimbi, who's a black man. I now think he was a CIA puppet, but that's a different story. So, let's stop playing, let's not stop letting them, those motherfuckers who run this place, who have the power to create these events, they're the ones who are kind of writing the script for you. And it's not meant to be how it is, brother. You're meant to be writing the script, because you're the creator. You're creating heaven or hell. And the difference as to what you choose to create is really based on your thoughts. They say your thoughts create your reality. So if your thoughts are, I'm special, more special than him because of where I was born, or my race, religion, skin color, and ethnicity, and gender. My male is better than that female. if you're all caught up in that type of stuff, then the people who run the show, who seem to be the ones holding the purse strings and the lights and the curtains and whatnot, no? Those people are in your head telling you what to think. You're not thinking for yourself anymore. Or perhaps you never were, because from the very youngest of ages, we're getting impregnated, implanted, imprinted with these inculcated ideas about who and what we are and who and what our brethren down the road are. And the TV, the television, the tell-lie-vision or tell-a-vision is telling people a vision of materialism and separation and whatnot, selfishness and so on, and of horror, that there is a terrorist on every corner. Everybody is out to get each other. We are only warring beasts that barely were able to, evolve from hominid kind of knuckle draggers just a few thousand years ago, and so on and so forth. Don't buy into that. You're the creator having this awesome experience. Well, it's meant to be awesome, but some numbnuts has got in the way of that. Hey? If anything is going to make you angry, it should be that numbnuts is fucking with your beautiful experience. Get angry briefly if you need to, if you still haven't been there. It's important. Get fucking angry. Get pissed off because it's fucked up. But maybe it's meant to be that way, I don't know. But it is that way. So deal with it, get over it. And then come back to this inner knowing, realizing who you are and what you are. When you get to that, then hopefully there's no need to be fucking a chest beater. There's no need to be kind of holding your brother at arm's length. And of course, just a note of caution that, there are, of course, for every one of you, there's a whole bunch of Dawn of the Dead dudes who just don't want to see it and who can't see it, and who are going to stay in their kind of beer swilling, rugby, football team supporting, kind of cheerleading, logo wearing kind of shit. I'm wearing a fucking logo. Truth is, most of my clothes have some kind of logo on them or something, you know what I mean? I only woke up a little while ago and I was just buying clothes in the regular way like most people. So unless I go around and scratch out all these, I try not to wear the shit that's got big names on it. Oh my God, can't believe I'm working for these corporations. The dead. Anyway, back on topic. I have said so much now, and I haven't bored the hell out of you, but I think that if you can look to the love, if you can find that inner work, you will find that love. And if you find the love, then people around you will be more guided to that, because we attract what we are in a way. And we can stimulate by example, a better way. And then in due course, maybe the people who seek to kind of divide us will become so insignificant, so irrelevant, that it'll only just be the last few ball boys and vestiges of those who love their systems of control, who absolutely adore their hierarchies and so on. It'll be them that'll play in their little games over in the corner there while the rest of us enjoy, the fruits of a loving world. I thank you for your contribution to this. Let me just say some hellos. because it won't take too long. Because it's still Amanda and Tommy, and it's so nice to have women in the Flat Earth community. Women, I think, are very essential. Well, as essential as men. And but they have a certain appeal that 10 blokes in a room versus 5 women and 5 men, that's balance. That's much better. So, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for giving me your time, and I hope it's been useful for you. And I'll speak. Oh, I was in it. I should say, I'm enjoying this too much. I was in a chat room with Roxanne Globalist Deny yesterday. She very kindly invited me onto a chat group, which is like my second, maybe third time, second or third time. I did one where I sat next to her in the room, but maybe one other time I've actually done it on my phone. Yesterday I did it, and there was a whole bunch of people whose channels I've listened to. That was really cool. Very cool. And then, in the chat room, there was, like, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, David Weiss, and Richie from Boston. And that was a bit surreal. That was a bit surreal. And, I really, admire people for having had the courage to speak out. And, of course, a guy like Richie from Boston, someone who's been doing it for a very long time, while I was fast asleep, snoring away, he was doing his work. And so for a few years, I listened to Richie from Boston. I think by the time he hit about 100,000 subscribers, I was out. But for quite a long time, I listened to him. The reason I stopped listening to Richie from Boston is because the man is like, quick on the draw, and he's got some great intel and what have you. Much respect for all the work and the courage that he's put all this content out there. But it's like, I don't want to hear people, carrying on, banging on about how they're lining up the next kill grid for us. I mean, if you've watched any of my content, you'll know that I know that we're being killed, or I know that we are being. They push the aging process as fast as they can. The foods are designed, the vibrations around us are designed to cause disease and illness, for sure. The medical industry is a continuation of the same agenda. So I'm all about trying to find your own way and move away from these systems. But we don't want to do it. I don't think we want to do it in the way that is like chest beating and fucking spear throwing and fear mongering. It's more. When I had the DMT experience, I realized that everything was love. Everything was love, and that's really what is meant to be here, and that the whole banking casino system and so on is part of the disease, and should go away. It should be replaced by something, where people have access to whatever they need. That's easily done. The Slack system that we're built into is really just a construct. Money does grow on trees. Literally, they just use fucking paper from trees. I'd recommend hemp, but still, money grows on trees, and you just need a bit of ink and a printer. That's all the fucking Rothschilds and the central bankers do, right? So it's bullshit that there should be any lack. And probably if there's more land, then it's bullshit. And even with the land we got, there's enough land for, parcel it out. There's enough land for everyone to have plenty to get along with. But we're fighting each other. We're scrabbling over each other's heads to get ahead here in this system. It doesn't need to be like that. It shouldn't be like that. But I don't think we beat the system by like going, let's go fuck up the Rothschilds. Because that's quite easily done. I mean, if you got a few people together, you could go and fuck the Rothschilds up. If enough people wake up to this and they continue to put it all on the Rothschilds, which I don't think is probably the right target, but, if you do that, then, yeah, it wouldn't be hard to kind of pull that off, but they want that. Actually, they want people to get like that, because they do have the FEMA camps, thank you, Richie from Boston. They do have, all of the weaponry and all of the tools in their arsenal, and they have the sway of the public opinion because they were able to kind of put any sort of insurrection on a few, bad eggs or whatever, rather than say, yes, well, we're doing bad things, and people are pointing that out, and to that end, they've decided to burn Parliament. That would. They would very quickly carry the international outrage at these few ne'er-do-wells who've caused such a problem to the heart of democracy. So I don't know that, and I also think that, you see, if we are fuck the government, you motherfuckers, I just want to put my boot in your backside. That's a low vibration place to be. That's a low vibration place to be, and I think that they like that, actually. Surely the whole game is keep you in a low vibration. If you keep you in a low vibration one way or another, then they harvest your energy, or they get you to go along with their despotic plans or whatever, So it's definitely like a vibration thing. Everything is energy, and your energy that you give off is felt in ways that we can't register, but it's felt in the system. So I think if you can give off a positive energy, that's going to be a whole lot better for the system. So I'm trying to, with what I do, is inculcate a positive energy in the world, much as I can. I was angry, and I still feel, obviously, like, fuck 'em, I don't want it to continue, so that's just why I'm doing what I do now. I try and speak about it because it will bring maybe a little bit more light, and hopefully some higher vibrations. Because when you're in ignorance, then you're like stumbling around in the dark, trying to be good, but you don't really know anything. Now I can kind of go around with a little bit of light on me, and hopefully bring that light to other people, and encourage others to think in a similar way. Let's raise the vibration. Call the stuff out. I'm not saying don't. Call it out. But, we should have this agenda of trying to bring ourselves together as one, not fucking continue. There's some comments that I should fucking wrap up. Oh, Tommy. Thanks for the hearts and that, Amanda. Really appreciate your time there. Thanks. Remember, my eyesight's not perfect anymore. By the way, like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have definitely have to wear glasses to see what I'm seeing now. 2 years ago, even a year perhaps, I would have had to see that, wear glasses, but the distilled waters. I have kids and grandchildren still in diapers. What are the young ones gonna have to deal with? The Nazis won World War II, by the way. Yeah. I agree with you on every point there, actually, Tommy. I think when you say the Nazis won World War II, I feel like almost like Churchill and co. are Nazis too. Like, I think it's a National Socialist thing, even though they might be conservatives. I think it's a form of socialism, and I think I say to people that Adolf Hitler and Churchill were like the same. They were obviously, well, they weren't obviously, but I think they were working for the same master. And yes, so the Nazis won. Um, Parasites that feed off our negative energy. Rambo, I want to say this on that point. I've even imagined the possibility that these parasites are so smart, so powerful, that it's simply these creatures, these parasites that are actually getting people in, the Catholic hierarchy or in the governmental hierarchies to simply be these power hungry, greedy people. And so that when some people say to us that there is no who's the them or who's the they, who's a they that you're talking about all the time. Well, the they could be us. It could simply be that these parasites are the aliens, invaders. And if you've done a parasite cleanse and you've seen some of the creatures that are housed in the pipework, you probably go, yeah, I can see where they get some of the imagery from Hollywood from, for some of the creatures that they offer you in horror movies and so on. But so is it possible that these are simply some sort of slimy alien that lives in our gut and that causes us to be motherfuckers and be whatever? Yeah, sure, I'd be willing to go with that as a theory, as a possibility. I've been to, I've seen some truth gigs. I've been to some truth gigs. You could do a whole lot with on a Sunday afternoon. Fluoride waters, cell phone cyborgs. Most don't even look up now. Oh yeah, yeah. Tommy, that's a fair point. For those who can't see this comment, he's saying he's been to some truther gigs, and I guess you're saying you could round a lot of us up on a Sunday afternoon because there's so few. Yeah, no, I guess I have to agree that the majority of people are what would be considered to be asleep and totally bored up or bored in or whatever. And I think sometimes some people say, like there's an event coming in a few years' time and so on, and it'll change everything, and that there's energy shifts and so on, and that opens people's pineal glands and causes us to be able to see things that we couldn't see before and so on. So, I think I'll caveat with I would say that's possible, that those scenarios are possible. But the other scenarios is that things are just going to take a long time to unfold. We think in terms of this human life as, you know, um, like 20, 50, 80, 100 years or whatever. And so things need to happen in that time. Maybe this is thousands of years long, and, you know, we have to be patient, and we just have to do our part, do our part and pass the message or pass the baton down the line. Sometimes I think humanity has already hit its low point, and this is us beginning to use the information age to crawl back out again. Sometimes I think, no, we've still got a little bit further to fall or a little lower to go, and then we'll be in a position to rise. I'm not sure. I'd like to be optimistic and go, well, this is our turn to carry the baton. Not sure how, whether we reach a finishing line or whether we just pass the baton on to the next generation of our children or grandchildren. Because for sure, flat Earth and other truths, other awareness has been around for a very, very long time. As I said in a chat room yesterday, I think that what the internet, what DARPANET has given us is the ability to talk to each other now, but also perhaps the ability in the future to, in a very short space of time, reach 100 million, 500 million people. Obviously we don't have that reach and control right now, but the systems are already in place, and the military and so on, and the governments of today are actually building potentially the tool that leads to their downfall. But bear always in mind that because the majority of folk are just fluoridated, in some kind of Pleasantville, Hollywood kind of Disneyland version of things, then you can't really take these people out of that in a snap sort of moment. We are so far from nature. We are so far from our true nature. It's funny to see someone react when a fly or a bee comes around them, and they freak out like some fucking, dinosaur pterodactyl has just made an appearance, out of nowhere and flying at them. People are just not ready for that. But as I was saying in this group I was saying yesterday, I think that the best that we can do then is to learn what we're meant to know. Now we know what we know, we'll learn what we're meant to know, and then pass that on, rather than pass on the kind of baton of be angry but go and vote. Be angry but petition the government to do differently, please. No, fuck that. No, we need to learn to be beautiful humans, higher vibration beings, perhaps, and do something more with this knowledge than carry on, scrabbling around in the dust of the rubble of 9/11 to try and establish what really happened. Because they're never going to tell us what really happened on 9/11 until we have completely shifted the paradigm. The people who did 9/11 have basically controlled every government and the creation of every government across the plane for as long as our history goes back, as far as we know. So don't be asking them for any help. Hey, Zane's awake. Amanda, I always try and keep positive, and yes, it does impact your everyday. I like to hear you say that. It does impact your everyday life. My wife says the same now. It can be hard, but you make it what you want it to be. Yeah. I think, Amanda, I think my experience is that when you start to kind of really realize the true you, the value of you, then the way that you represent yourself in the world will be richer. No more like the lowly browbeaten civil servant. Or in the case of a woman, there's a whole raft of ideation that you're meant to take on board, and being there. It's a beautiful thing. And I think that the longer it goes on, the longer it goes on, the more that your life becomes richer, I would hope. I'm not saying it works for everybody, but if you keep following the yellow brick road and don't be stuck on 9/11 or don't be stuck on the flat earth, all about that distilled water. Yeah. Was Tommy saying Brown Bros, Harriman, England, Finance, okay, Finance Adolf and Prescott Bush and Rothschild, Cashfire, Switzerland, Bank of America, much more. Adolf did not die in bunker. Agree, pretty much agree. The Brown brothers, I didn't know about them. Harriman, I assume the Barclays brothers, who are Jewish, are probably in that mix too. Rambo's glad that he's woke, but it hasn't been an easy road to travel. Yeah. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Not easy road to travel. But I think, I started out in 2015 on the flat earth, and, it was a pretty lonely path. But obviously right now in 2018, it's like things have come a long way for me. And hopefully it's the same for others. It'll take a while. Hey, there's a blackbird starting to think everyone works in cycles. Everything works in cycles, including our lives and societal lives. Yeah, yeah. But there's micro cycles and macro cycles. Hey? 5 to 6 years. Now I need distilled water. No booze, no meds, no docs. Tommy, you're a healthy man, my friend. Damn. Yeah, I'm not even 2 years into distilled, but it's made a huge difference. And man, it says I should check out this video when I get a chance. Okay, I'll do that. Damn, it won't let me post it. Perhaps you can post it in the comments later if you don't mind. In shadow on YouTube. You need to watch. I need a wrench. Yeah. Oh, you need a wrench to post. How do I put a wrench? How's that? Did that work? I've never done that before. But Zane's, I don't know how you managed to be a wrench on mine. Maybe because you're the first person to comment on Zane. Anyway, Flat Earth Rain. Oh, Flat Earth Rising. This is Zane. Flat Earth Rising, here to stay. Soon you'll learn just how we play. Just like Liam in the Grey. Wolves. Sorry, my eyesight's not great. Wolves will rip apart their prey. Once more back into the fray. Live and die, both on this day. Bro, you just spit that shit out like you're just like breathing, man. That's awesome. Yes, Amanda, it'll make you stronger, darling. It'll make you stronger. This has already made me stronger, and I think you need a certain fortitude, you need a certain strength to kind of get into, to maybe be one of these people. I don't know what it is, but we are. Not an easy road to travel, says a blackbird, to be awakened, but it sure makes sense. Oh, man. Yeah. Listen, I can't give you a hammer, Rambo, but I will give you a wrench, mate. Thanks for visiting. And what have I spoken here for nearly an hour? Fuck. Okay, look, I'm sorry for taking this time of yours. Thank you. And it's 9/11 today. We should not forget any people who die in it's our generations that have gone before are important. And for those who die in conflict or those who die in these things, it's a sorry thing. We should do our part to try and avoid getting into conflict. And I don't want to see more of that. We'll only avoid it if we become informed about how this game is being played. So don't let them play games with you. You are something divine, something super, super important. Just remember that. And thanks to my friends for coming by. And I'm going to have to do that for you, Blackbird. Anyway, thank you guys and have a super day. And I look forward to catching up with you all sometime soon, some way. Much love.